Hello guys, happy Halloween. Today we are going to be recapping this the shortened replay version of a live I did last week. I am using Pretty Pink Posh products. I am using the Spooky Sky stencils, the Cauldron shaker, and then the Happy Halloween shadow die. I actually gave, if you were in the live, I actually gave you guys a choice about which one that you wanted to do. The other one I had pulled out was like some candy treats. But you guys were very intrigued by doing the sky. So today we are going to talk about the ways that we can layer things and just some tips to help get you to where you want to be as far as like the layering of things. I'm going to be using some stencils and some embellishments. Here I have pulled out some borders. I used this border for a hill in another video and I was like, this is perfect. Like if I'm going to do a cauldron, I'll do my little cauldron on a hill. It'll be adorable and we'll do the Happy Halloween. But honestly, even though the cauldron is the shaker, I have to be honest, I think the sky is the show stealer in this card. You'll have to let me know what you think. So here, I double checked to make sure everything was going to fit. Since my cauldron is going to be a shaker, these dies, these shaker dies, are actually two pieces. So there's one to cut out the whole piece. So you could have just a whole cauldron. You wouldn't have to make it a shaker at all. Or, I mean, if you're creative, a pot at the end of the rainbow. But then that middle piece inside of it actually cuts it to be a frame, which is what's going to give us our shaker elements. So we're cutting the scallop border for our hill, our cauldron shaker, and then I'm also cutting the Happy Halloween out of white. If you were in the live, you could not skip this part, and I apologize because it's normally the part that I cut out of the video, and I did cut it out of the video this time. So here, I am a raccoon. I garbage picked this. I had actually taken apart a different card, and this was the acetate sleeve that goes like, so it could be a full cover card, like full cover shaker. And it is a very, very thick acetate. And I thought, oh, well, good. I'll just reuse this because I've already taken it off and thrown it in the garbage. And then I remembered that it was down there. But the acetate is very, very thick. So I did have a little bit of trouble cutting through it. It's not the dye. Sometimes acetate, even thinner acetate, can be a little bit tricky. And Jennifer, actually, I said this in the live. Jennifer, I had been watching one of her lives and she was also cutting out some acetate. And she was talking about how, like, a lot of times she will put like 2 pieces of cardstock underneath it to help give it something to kind of like bite into. So for the most part, putting the cardstock underneath it did work. The only part that I could not just like kind of pop out was right around the handles on the cauldron. So if that happens to you, don't force it, because even though it is, you know, heavier duty than a paper, you can still tear your acetate. So I find it easiest to just go in and just wherever that little piece is just hanging on, which is all that it was just like one little piece, and just snip it with my scissors. Normally I would use my detail scissors, but I couldn't find them and I was live, so I just went with what I had. And then here to cut out all of the pieces that are going to be what we stack on top of each other, I'm using 2 pieces of tape to tape the dies to each other, and then 2 pieces of tape to tape the dies to the paper. That way I can just pick them up and move them as one piece, and all of them will like line up with each other. They'll be the exact same thing because we've cut them with the dies in the exact same place. So this part, like I said, could not be skipped in the live. And I was like, I'm sorry, I have to cut out, I think I cut out like 6 of them, 6 or 7 of them. I don't know. I needed it to be thick enough to be a shaker card. So now let's get into our inking. We're going to do this little hill at the bottom of the card, green. And because it is, you know, it's a little bit spooky, you know, because it's Halloween. So I wanted it to be like a little bit on the dark side. Same thing with the sky, but honestly, like I can see that, I know I'm getting ahead of the video, but I can see that sky in so many different ways and so many different scenes that have absolutely nothing to do with Halloween. So I'm very excited about that because I like getting more uses out of my products. So I'm starting, the lightest color was Twisted Citron, and I'm keeping that more towards the top of the hill. And then all of my darkness is going to be more towards the bottom. So it is Halloween tonight, and I do plan on picking up my little one from daycare a little early so that I had to practice her hair the other night because the character that she is being has like a really long bubble braid that's like purple. And my daughter has my naturally curly hair, and it is not really long, even though she's never had a haircut. I mean, in the tub when it's wet, it's like down past her shoulders. But once that curl gets going, I mean, it springs up. She doesn't have much length at all. So the other day, what do we have? We had dance class, and then we went out to dinner with my dad. Eric was working overtime. And then when I came home, I was like, okay, let me practice your hair because it's tub night anyway. So I did do a practice run, and I realized pretty quickly that her hair is going to need a lot of extra bobby pins to hold up the weight of the additional hair. But I think it's going to be good. I'm glad I did a practice. All right, let's go in and do the sky. So typically your sky is a lighter towards the horizon. And so knowing that, I wanted to make sure that I left that lighter part. So here I'm just making sure that I took the pink, which is picked raspberry, down far enough. And then starting with my darker colors, I'm going to take this about halfway, maybe 2/3, but I still want to leave some of that pink. And then that was Seedless Preserves. And then I'm going to go over that in Wilted Violet. And each time, I'm covering the previous color, but only to a point. I am, leaving maybe like a half inch, quarter of an inch down of the previous color, so that way it does have that nice light to dark gradient. So then from the Wilted Violet, we are going to Villainous Potion, how fitting for Halloween. And then I'm going to add in the Black Soot. So I'm not even a purple fan. My daughter loves purple. It's her favorite color. So she would totally be digging this card. But even though I'm not a purple fan, I am still also digging this card. So I'm adding the Black Soot, and then we're going to go in reverse from the darkest color back out to the lightest to get the best blend and have it really nice and saturated. I'm going to get her early. My son this year is an inflatable alien who stole a child. So basically it looks like the inflatable is the alien part, and then he is the child, and it looks like the alien is like carrying him off. I was terrified we were going to have rain. Oh, there's nothing. I mean, I live in Ohio. It's 70 degrees or it's snowing. 2 years ago, it was literally snowing. I'm not just being dramatic. Like, don't pull out the fainting couch. I'm being honest. So this year, I thought for sure it was going to be rain. They were calling for rain, and thankfully it poured all day yesterday, which was awful, but much, much better on a Thursday than on today for Friday for Halloween. And so since it poured all day and all night, it is now currently clear skies, and it looks like it's going to stay that way. But it is going to be a little bit chilly. I think right now it is a whopping 50 degrees and the sun is out. So tonight when the sun goes down, I'm sure it will be very, very cold. So we will be bundled. Okay, let's talk about layering. So first things first, you want to start with your lightest color of like whatever it is that you're doing. So we have the super dark sky. How are we going to put down these light colored clouds, right? We're going to do that with pigment ink. Pigment ink is more opaque. So if you don't have a regular pigment ink pad, you can also use Distress Oxides. They have pigment ink properties. So here, instead of using a brush, which you can do, that's normally how we would swish it on. Instead of using a brush, I actually opted to use my finger dauber, or you could use a pouncer if you have those. And the reason that this works so well is, it's very quick. You don't have to worry about the stencil lifting at all. Like when you do like stencils and home decor, that's what you use a sponge as a pouncer. But the really cool thing about this is it allows you to play with the opacity. So you can go in and put down one layer and have it be a little bit more see-through. But if you let it dry a little bit, then you can go back in, and here you'll see, like when I go back into I didn't do the whole cloud, just parts of it. It's going to make it more opaque. So we have like sections where the clouds are maybe a little bit more wispy, and then sections where they are a little bit more, like darker. They're a little bit more opaque. So this is one of the ways that you can absolutely layer. Even if you're going lighter over darker, this will still work. As you can see, I think these clouds are darling. I know it's part of the spooky sky, but I think you could use these for any time. So now with the bats, so one of the reasons why we want to go lighter to darker is because if you're choosing to use a lighter like a pigment ink, they would go right over the bats. And then the bats that are supposed to be nice, bold black would look like the cloud was like on top of them, which is not what we want. So here we're doing the layering with our darker color, which, we want to go lightest to darkest. And these are going to shine really nicely even on top of that pigment ink. So this is your more traditional application of just using an ink to put down your stencils, but it works. So we have all of these bold black bats on top of our nice white clouds. And then the other thing that you want to do when you're kind of layering is you want to go cleanest to messiest. So here you could absolutely use like a paste that would work. And if you wanted them to be another color, you could mix that paste with a little bit of like alcohol ink to dye it. But I decided that I was just going to go in and I was going to use this glitter paste. This is I think it's called glitter gel. This is from Gina K. And it's just a clear shine. Word to the wise, if you're using a mat, like I frequently do, I use a grip mat to hold my things. You want to make sure that you're pushing the stencil down in the middle, because sometimes it can kind of be a little bit bubbled up and your paste or whatever you're using will slide underneath it. So just make sure that it is flat. And then this is going to add lots of shine and shimmer, but it's not going to add any busyness. I don't want it to be kind of too wild and crazy in the sky, but I love the idea of having like those little glittery stars in the background. And then because we did do our inking with distress inks and they react with water, you can see even the ones that we put over the clouds shine through like a little bit of pink, which I think is super fun. So now, while that is drying, we're going to work on our cauldron. For the bottom of the cauldron, the whole piece, I'm just going to go in with black soot and just color the whole thing black. Could you have cut all of these out of black cardstock and avoided this? Absolutely. I am too cheap to cut all of my black cardstock, so I find workarounds for that. Here, I'm just using the little tape trick, so I've stuck some tape to my fingers so that I can hold that black cauldron without getting the black all over my fingertips, or all over, my fingerprints all over my cauldron. So here I started to kind of do the same thing, and I realized pretty quickly this was not the most efficient way to do this. By using the blending brush, I was kind of risking misshapening the cauldrons because they are a little bit thin. It's just a frame. So I decided that I was going to go in with just a black marker instead, and this was just as fast, and I didn't have to worry about changing the shape. The only one that I did not color all the way black is the one that's going to be on top. And so for that one, I am going to do a little bit of shading. I'm still going to use the black because we're coloring an object black. So we want it to be black. So its darkest points where it's like under the lip of the cauldron and where the handles are joining is black. And then the bottom of it, where it's meeting the little feet, that is also black. And then I'm just going to blend out to my lightest color. Remember, when we're coloring, we're going to have a little bit of shadow and we're going to have a little bit of highlight, but the most of what we're going to be seeing are our mid-tones. So anyway, they're not calling for rain anymore, which I am very grateful for, but I have a feeling that we're not even really going to see anybody's costumes because we're going to be all bundled up, but that's okay. I am committed. She is very excited. She is going to be Rumi from K-Pop Demon Hunters. There's actually 3 of them, and I'm going to be Mira, and we don't have a third. I'm hoping that I can just put my sister's hair in some pigtails and she'll play along, since we're all going to be coats anyway. Anyway, so I bought her all of the things that I would normally buy her. And so I know she's very, very excited, especially about her purple hair. So I have like synthetic hair, which by the way feels yuck. I don't like it. But I also have like a purple spray because I got to get her little curly hair. Like, you know, she has like all them little baby hairs around her face that are adorable and curly. But I got to slick them back into this braid. So I have like a purple wax and a purple hairspray. So we definitely will be doing tub time after Halloween tonight. So here, in order to create the shaker, because we can't use foam tape, right? There's no little teeny tiny bits that are going to fit on this little frame. So we just cut a bunch and we stack them up. And then that is going to hold our shaker bits. For here, like I can see where some of the areas, even though I tried to get all of the sides, you know, black, I can see that there are some that I missed. So I'm just going to flip it over from the back side to make sure that I don't accidentally rub that black marker across the front where we did all of that shading. And I am going to just color the edges in black. Normally I tell you to use a water-based marker when we're doing this with fussy cut images, but in this case, using the alcohol marker is actually a benefit to us because it's going to seep into the paper and make sure that everything does look black. So we have our base cauldron. These are the stack of cauldrons that we've been putting together, and we're going to glue those down right on top of that cauldron. Don't mind my dog jingling, because of course there could not be a more inconvenient time to have an itch, but we love her, so we'll let it go. Even though she did eat a whole bag of Halloween candy. So any other dog, I would be very, very concerned. But this one, it does not seem to bother her, that when she gets into stuff like that. So I have been watching her all day. I don't know exactly what she ate. I just got a message from my husband that basically said Emma ate a whole bag of Halloween candy. Watch her. So I am, and she's been fine thus far. She has eaten, she is drinking normal, she is scratching her neck like normal, as you heard all the jingling. Okay, so in the past, it's not that liquid glue won't work. Liquid glue just takes a longer time to work, and I'm impatient. So I decided I was going to go with the tape runner this time. I did have a little bit of trouble where like the tape runner, like where the cauldron handles were, like it wanted to stay connected between the two. So I just used something to poke it out, and then it was fine. In order to add the adhesive to the back part, it made more sense to add it to the parts that were sticking up of the colored cauldron than it did to try to put it on the clear acetate, because there's no lip and there would be no way for me to control where the tape was going. So initially, I started to put the shaker bits inside the acetate, and I was like, no, your well is on the other side. So you want to put your shaker bits wherever you've built up the walls. This is the Spooky Sky clay confetti. So we have like the purple, the black, the stars, and then the little moons. I think this is perfect for the kind of vibe that we have going on. And then while I was sitting here, I remembered that I had these iridescent stars from Pretty Pink Posh. So one of them is the mini iridescent stars and one is the 1/4 of an inch. So there's 2 different sizes. And when I tell you that remembering that I owned these was a game changer, I'm not kidding, because I really think that they helped bring the whole sky together and make it like extra. And I love extra on my cards, not in real life, but in my cards. Super fun. So my son should be all set because he is in an inflatable. The only thing that we had to get him was like a little hat, like a little winter hat to keep his ears warm. And he could wear gloves, but basically he's encapsulated in this inflatable that has its own fan. So once he's in and blown up, I tried to explain to him, like, you're not going to be able to run house to house like you normally do. Best of luck to you there. But he's very excited about it. So now, once we get all our shaker bits in there, we're going to line up our cauldrons, and then we have a little shaker cauldron. Is this not the little cutest thing that you ever saw? I think it's so darling. I like all the little iridescent stars inside there. It's given us like different kind of rainbow colors. I think it's super fun. And who makes a shaker and doesn't shake it for a few minutes? I don't know. If you can resist that, good for you. I cannot. So now our background is dry. We are, by the way, my glue was like on its last leg. I have since opened a new bottle, but again, I was live, so I had to go with what I know, and what I know is Tombow Mono Multi Glue. I still have, this is still like my ride or die glue. I still have it because when I want a repositionable adhesive, this is it. It does dry permanent when you put it down wet. So I put my hill down. Now I'm putting my little cauldron on top of my hill. I really love this sky. I know I keep saying it, but I can't help it. I really, really like it. I think it's really fun. So here I wanted to do a little bit of a shadow just to add something. I mean, it's not hard to do, but it just adds a little something because we have that like lighter horizon, like the sun's just going down. So basically you just want to kind of make a circle shape out from the feet. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just giving the illusion because there's not a, like, we're too close to the cauldron. We can't see the whole shadow to even worry about like the shapes of the handles and things. We really just need the bottom part that is that kind of like oval circular shape, and that's going to be enough. So in the live, it was decided that we would put little eyeballs on the bats, and it was a great decision. Originally, I was just going to do the big bats, but then I realized there was not a lot of big bats to be seen. So then I went in with the white gel pen and added them also to the little bats, and I have no regrets. I think that that is adorable. So now we're going to do the Halloween in white. You could absolutely like stack these up like we did the cauldron. And like have them be have a little bit more heft, but I didn't find it to be necessary. So we're doing, them in white. They're really standing out, you know, from that, darker background. And when I first put down the happy, I was like, oh, I think it's good. And then it looked like maybe it was a little bit crooked. So I readjusted it. I'm glad I did because I do think it looks better after the fact. Sometimes I got to look at them head on. That's what I was doing there. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to use these little iridescent stars to accent my sentiment. Like, won't that be fun? These little iridescent stars. And then I put them everywhere. I have not a single regret about this decision. I think that I think they look super cute. So I started with my crystal katana, but I must have gotten glue on it because I could not get the little stars off of the end. So I was like, I'm just going to switch over to tweezers. And this worked the rest of the way for me. So it is a mix of the mini stars and the larger 1/4 of an inch stars. And here you can kind of see, like, I'm doing it the way I would normally do it with my little accents, and aren't they darling? And then once I like see it pretty quickly, I'm like, yeah, we're going to be putting these all over the place. All these little glue dots everywhere. And then I think you'll have to tell me if you liked it better with or without. I love them because I think it adds, you know, obviously more like, you know, shimmer, shine, and I'm all about that life. But also I think it adds in another color because they are iridescent. It catches some of that like green from the bottom, and I love it. So I hope that you are inspired to try layering your things, so that you can get a kind of, you know, different and fun result than you've had before. I hope that you guys have a safe and happy Halloween. Thank you so much for stopping in and spending your time with me, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.